Hello, this is News Pulse on UATV. I'm Henry Keane. Thank you for joining. Today in the episode, Pearl program underway. US arms deliveries to Ukraine never stopped and keep rolling. Lavrov's mysterious absence is Putin losing trust in his top diplomat. Ukrainian drones strike deep inside Russia. Oil refinery in the city of Saratov is set ablaze. Lukoil declares force majeure. Please let me know in a comment section below if you'd like any specific topics to be put in the spotlight in the next episode. Meanwhile, welcome to the show. NATO has confirmed that the implementation of the Pearl prioritized Ukraine requirements list program for the procurement of American weapons for the armed forces of Ukraine is proceeding with no delays. According to a NATO representative, deliveries are onwards and new equipment is already arriving in Ukraine. The Axios outlet previously reported that the US government shutdown caused delays in arms exports worth more than $5 billion intended for NATO allies and Ukraine. The situation has slowed the delivery of critical systems such as AMRAAM missiles, Aegis combat systems and HIMARS launchers. The first 4 aid packages, worth about $2 billion, were financed by the Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Germany and Canada. Early President Volodymyr Zelensky reported that Spain had also joined the initiative just as well, and the total funding for the program has already exceeded $2 billion. Today, Poland, one of the most staunch allies and supporters of Ukrainian independence, marks its own Independence Day. Freedom and sovereignty are nothing else but a choice, and Poland has made it over a century ago in November 11th, 1918, and ever since is standing firmly for it, ready to defend its freedom when necessary. That is exactly why deserving it. Congratulations, Poland, for being powerful and free. International experts report that about 70% of the ammunition used by Russia in its war against Ukraine is supplied by North Korea. Since the start of the full-scale invasion in February 2022, Pyongyang has delivered roughly 6.5 million shells to Moscow. Russia has purchased electronic components from also China, the United States and Europe to produce tanks and missiles, while Iran has supplied around 2,200 drones and explosive-making technology. Recent high-level talks in Pyongyang between Russian and North Korean officials focused on further strengthening military cooperation. Ukrainian defense officials warned that this logistical network spanning North Korea, China and Iran sustains Russia's invasion and prolongs the conflict. The National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, NABU, together with the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, conducted large-scale investigative actions at the state-owned company Energoatom, which is responsible for nuclear energy production in Ukraine. According to NABU, the investigation lasted over 15 months and involved more than 1,000 hours of audio recordings. Investigators are looking into details of a corruption scheme in which contractors allegedly paid 10 to 15% of contract values as a kickbacks to secure deals with Energoatom. Searches targeted the homes and offices of high-ranking officials connected to the energy sector. The actions caused significant political resonance and sent a clear signal: no one is untouchable, even or maybe especially during a wartime.
Any effective action against corruption is greatly needed. The inevitability of punishment is essential. Energoatom currently provides Ukraine with the largest share of power generation. Integrity within the company is a priority. The energy sector and every field. Everyone who has built corrupt schemes must face a clear procedural response. There must be convictions. And government officials must work together with NABU and law enforcement bodies and do it in a way that delivers real results.
The NABU investigation at Energoatom became a confirmation that public pressure has real power that results in legal actions. Only a few months ago, Ukraine experienced a wave of so-called cardboard protests. Peaceful demonstrations against a law that could have weakened the independence of NABU and SAP. thousands of Ukrainians demanded protection for anti-corruption institutions, demonstrating democracy, transparency, and the country's pro-European course. And these very protests, as the emanation of people's will, today resulted in NABU and SAP continuing its independent work, the result of which we see today in corruption case in Energoatom being revealed. US President Donald Trump stated that the war launched by Russia against Ukraine no longer carries the risk of turning into World War III. He said this while speaking to reporters. He also repeated that he had stopped 8 wars, adding that the end of the 9th one is still ahead.
We could have a world that's on fire where wars come to our shores very easily if you had a bad president. We had a horrible president, and we ended up with Russia-Ukraine, and we ended up with other disasters, too. Don't forget, I put out 8 wars, 9 to come. I think I'll get the other one taken care of. But I put out 8 wars, and look at the damage that Russia-Ukraine has done to us as a country. I mean, we spent $350 billion. We're not spending any money anymore. Now they pay us through NATO. You know, I got NATO to go from 2% to 5%. Well, that's very important. If I weren't president, that war could have led to World War III. It won't. It's not going to anymore. But when I first got in, I said, wow, this situation could lead to World War III. And I got NATO together. I got everybody together.
US President Donald Trump has also announced plans to reduce important tariffs for India, citing that he described as New Delhi's near hold of Russian oil purchases. He made the statement during the swearing-in ceremony of the new US ambassador to India. According to Trump, the Indian government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi has practically stopped importing Russian oil, a move that White House views as a positive step in reducing support for Moscow. In return, Washington is ready to review and lower existing tariffs on Indian goods. The president did not specify when the tariff reduction might take place. India was previously hit with a 25% penalty tariff from Washington for what the US described as excessive imports of Russian oil, purchases that, according to American officials, indirectly funded Russia's war against Ukraine. On the night of November 11th, drones attacked an oil refinery in Saratov in Russia, setting it ablaze. This was reported by the regional governor and Russian telegram channels. The Saratov oil refinery, part of the Rosneft structure, processes around 5 million tons of crude oil annually, supplying fuel to the whole of the Volga region in Russia. The attack is part of a series of strikes on energy facilities deep inside Russia, aimed at reducing the country's fuel production capabilities. The extent of the damage has not yet been disclosed, but in addition to the strike on Saratov oil refinery, Ukraine drones were quite active overnight, with Russian air defenses responding over Crimea, Oryol, Lipetsk, Rostov, Bryansk, Voronezh, and Kaluga regions. Ukrainian Special Operation Forces drone struck the Gvardeyska oil depot in occupied Crimea. The attack damaged a pumping station at the depot. This is already the 3rd successful strike on this very facility in less than a month. The Gvardeyska oil depot is a key part of the fuel and logistics systems of the occupying authorities in Crimea, playing an important role in supplying military facilities and transport for the enemy forces. The Special Operation Forces of Ukraine continue their asymmetric actions aimed at completely exhausting the enemy. Russian oil giant Lukoil has declared force majeure and halted operations at the West Kurna 2 oil field in Iraq, one of the world's largest oil deposits. The move comes after the United States and the United Kingdom imposed sanctions on Lukoil in October, prompting Iraq to stop oil payments to the company, both in cash and in oil. Lukoil owns a 75% stake in the project, which produces around 480,000 barrels of oil per day, while the remaining 25 belongs to Iraq's North Oil Company. In an official letter to the Iraqi Ministry of Oil, Lukoil cited force majeure circumstances preventing it from continuing normal operations. If the situation is not resolved within 6 months, Lukoil could fully withdraw from the project, marking a significant disruption in Iraq's oil production and a major setback for the Russian company. When European politicians talk about how powerful Russia is, that's exactly what they fear. Madness. We must destroy the Russian army once and for all. Later, they may return as a modern state or disappear into oblivion. I don't care, but the empire must end now. Writes Western OSINT analyst Andrew Perpetua on X network. Footage shows Russian troops entering Pokrovsk from the south, both on foot and using carts, buggies and other vehicles. They are, of course, taking advantage of difficult weather conditions to infiltrate the city as effectively as they can. The situation near Pokrovsk and Mirnograd in Donetsk remains tense as Ukrainian forces fight to hold the flanks of a so-called pocket, while Russian troops continue their offensive. Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrskyi told the New York Post that Russia has concentrated a large portion of its forces, around 150,000 troops there, including mechanized units and 4 Marine brigades, in the area just to break through Ukrainian defenses. They emphasized that the Pokrovsk remains under Ukrainian control, countering Russian claims of its capture. Syrskyi also said that Russia aims to encircle Pokrovsk and neighboring towns, obviously to cut supply lines and force civilians out, setting up a final maneuver to take control over Donetsk. The commander called on international partners to supply long-range missiles, air defense systems and electronic warfare equipment ASAP to defend critical infrastructure from Russian strikes. Over 600 servicemen of Russia's central military district have died in 2024-2025 due to negligence, poor hygiene, alcohol substance overdosing and violence. In 2024, at least nearly 70 soldiers committed suicide, while the first half of 2025 saw 86 more. Poor quality of food caused 32 deaths from poisoning and 112 drug-related fatalities were recorded in 2025, nearly matching the 143 deaths in 2024. Experts say that rising suicides, crime and substance abuse indicate obviously deep demoralization and Russian occupying forces. Western observers, including the United States, are closely watching Russia's personnel decisions amidst the ongoing war in Ukraine. Specifically in the spotlight is now Foreign Minister of Russia, Sergey Lavrov, a long-time Putin ally. Experts note that Lavrov has been increasingly absent from key events, including a November 5th Security Council meeting and the upcoming G20 summit in South Africa, where he will not lead the Russian delegation. Analysts suggest that this signals a potential loss of influence, partly due to failed negotiations with the Trump administration and challenges in curbing US-European cooperation on Ukraine. Kremlin officials publicly deny any loss of trust, insisting Lavrov retains his post, but observers say his diminishing role reflects shifting dynamics within Putin's inner circle. That seems to be it for today. I'm Henry Keane, and I wish to say on behalf of all Ukrainians, again, thank you so very much for standing firmly with Ukraine. Please subscribe to UATV channel so to stay tuned to what's going on in the world, delivered to you by us, UATV, in Ukrainian perspective, and hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.